U.S. Navy about John Phelan's connections to Jeffrey Epstein and Phelan's time on board Epstein's plane. The Navy is offering no comment. But today was the first day that members of Congress were allowed, under very strict conditions, to physically go to the Justice Department, where they were allowed to see unredacted versions of some Epstein documents. Judging by the reaction from members of Congress like Jamie Raskin, who took advantage of this opportunity today, members of Congress today seem just as frustrated as ever about what the Trump administration is doing and continues to do with all this Epstein-related material.
Congress forced Trump's Justice Department to release millions of documents tied to Jeffrey Epstein, the convicted child sex trafficker who died in federal custody. Trump had promised to release everything, said it himself on the campaign trail, and claimed the files would prove Democrats were the guilty side. But when the documents finally came out, something unexpected happened. The names appearing were not only Democrats. They included Trump's own people, his Navy secretary, his Commerce secretary, his top donor, and Donald Trump himself. Again and again, Congressman Jamie Raskin went to the Justice Department to review the unredacted versions. He searched Donald Trump's name inside the files, and it appeared more than 1 million times. More than 1 million times. And before Congress was ever allowed to see them, the Trump administration had already blacked out over 96% of those mentions. That was not transparency. That was a shredding operation with extra steps.
There were to be no redactions in order to spare people embarrassment or political disgrace. We didn't want there to be a cover-up. And yet what I saw today was that there were lots of examples of people's names being redacted when they were not victims. And so we still haven't gotten from the DOJ their privilege log explaining why certain redactions were made. But I can tell you that I saw a whole bunch of them that seemed very suspicious and baffling to me. Donald Trump's name was redacted in a number of different places. And I saw one conversation between Epstein lawyers and Trump lawyers relating to the 2009 investigation, which had been redacted. And I don't see any particular reason that it should have been. Donald Trump's name is all over these files. All over it. I mean, thousands and thousands of times.
One thing, sorry, go ahead. Yeah. One thing that came out in the release last month was a bunch of tips from through the tip line, including about President Trump and potentially with a 13-year-old girl. Did you get to see any of how those tips were investigated? Did you feel comfortable about them being dismissed?
I saw nothing about that. But if you spend any real time with these files, you will see references to 17-year-old girls, 16-year-old girls, 14-year-old girls, 11-year-old girls, 10-year-old girls, and I saw a reference today to a 9-year-old girl. So is a really gruesome and grim story. And I think in order to see our way through this and to try to make progress on criminal investigation and prosecution and some kind of social redemption from this whole nightmare, we need to listen to the survivors.
A 9-year-old girl. President Trump is mentioned thousands of times in the files, as Congressman Raskin said there. Trump's Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, is also all over the files, including in the files apparently trying to negotiate a trip to Epstein's Island. The top Republican Party donor in the country, by far, Elon Musk, he's all over the files, including trying to get Epstein to invite him to what Musk called his, quote, wildest parties. And yes, the Navy Secretary, John Phelan, is there as well, flying on Epstein's plane with who knows who. But one of the people on board the plane was the French modeling scout guy who killed himself in jail when he was charged with Epstein-related trafficking crimes. There's no criminal allegations against any of these men from the Trump administration that I just mentioned, but they're all still in place in the administration and in Republican politics, at least at this hour. One guy who did lose his job in this country is the chairman of Paul Weiss, which is a very fancy, very powerful, very rich New York law firm. That law firm and its previous, chairman, Brad Karp, became very, very famous in the past year as, quote, the face of capitulation to Donald Trump in his return to the White House. Soon after Trump was sworn in for his second term, Trump, you'll recall, started threatening elite law firms with executive orders of dubious legal weight. Brad Karp's law firm, Paul Weiss, was one of the firms that was threatened. And Brad Karp was the guy who immediately rushed to the White House to try to appease Trump, to have a conversation with Trump about getting his firm off the hook. The conversation was described as beginning, quote, with a prolonged discussion of golf. And that may be where it started, but where it ended was with Brad Karp, the chairman of Paul Weiss, promising that his elite law firm, Paul Weiss, would donate $40 million worth of free legal services to Donald Trump's pet projects as a way of trying to appease Trump so he wouldn't be mean to the firm anymore.
Let's start with John Phelan. Trump appointed this man as Secretary of the United States Navy. Phelan had never served in the Navy, never served in any branch of the military, and had never shown any real interest in naval affairs. What he was known for instead was his art collection, described by a former Sotheby's executive as, quote, a celebration of the sexual side of life. His Aspen mansion reportedly had a mirrored floor. His wife told an art publication that guests at parties were often surprised by what they could see reflected beneath them. Her phrase for it was naughty and nice. That same house is where John Phelan hosted a multi-million-dollar fundraiser for Donald Trump in August of 2024. Trump flew there on a plane that had previously belonged to Jeffrey Epstein. The campaign called it a coincidence. Then the Epstein files were released, and John Phelan, Trump's Navy secretary, appeared in the flight logs listed on 2 transatlantic flights aboard Epstein's aircraft. Also on those flights was Jean-Luc Brunel, a French modeling scout accused of rape and of supplying underage girls to Epstein. Brunel was later found dead in his prison cell in France in 2022 while awaiting trial on trafficking charges. Authorities ruled it a suicide. The Navy gave no comment. 6 other names on that same flight manifest remain redacted. We do not know who they are. We do not know why their names were hidden. And the Trump administration is not explaining it. Now let's talk about Howard Lutnick, Trump's Commerce Secretary. Lutnick's name appears throughout the Epstein files as well, including evidence that he was trying to arrange a family trip to Epstein's private island in 2012, 4 years after Epstein had already been convicted of soliciting prostitution from a minor. Lutnick has confirmed that he stayed in contact with Epstein long after previously claiming he had cut ties. When a Bloomberg reporter asked White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt whether Trump still supported Lutnick after what had come out, she ended the press briefing and walked straight out. Then there is Elon Musk, the largest donor to the Republican Party. His name also appears in the files, including communications where Musk allegedly asked Epstein to invite him to what Musk described as his epic parties. These are the people running the country right now, the people controlling the military, the economy, and the government, and they are all over the files. But this is where it becomes darker, because the files are not just about parties and private planes. Congressman Jamie Raskin reviewed the unredacted documents himself. He said the files contain references to 17-year-old girls, 16-year-old girls, 14-year-old girls, 11-year-old girls, 10-year-old girls, and even a 9-year-old. These are the documents the Trump Justice Department has been selectively releasing, selectively redacting, and actively limiting Congress from reviewing at scale. 4 computers, 9 to 5 hours, and 3 million documents to get through. Raskin did the math. At that pace, it would take 7 years to read only what they have agreed to release. And the DOJ is still holding another 3 million pages they claim are duplicates. If they are duplicates, then release them. That is what Raskin said. That is the obvious question, and no answer is coming from the administration. Now what about Trump himself? Trump has repeatedly said he had nothing to do with Epstein, yet his name appears in the files more than 1 million times. There is a 2009 email in the documents, a conversation between Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, where Epstein describes a phone call with Trump's own lawyers. Trump is quoted in that record saying, "Epstein was never a member of Mar-a-Lago, only a guest, and that they never asked him to leave. But Epstein reportedly remained a member of Mar-a-Lago until 2007. Trump said in 2002 that Epstein was a terrific guy who liked beautiful women, quote, many of them on the younger side. In 2003, Trump sent Epstein a birthday letter that included a hand-drawn image of a naked woman. It was reportedly kept in a leather-bound album by Ghislaine Maxwell. Attorney General Pam Bondi personally briefed Trump at the White House in May 2025. She told him his name appeared in the files multiple times. According to senior administration officials, Trump was informed of that in the meeting. Then Trump went on camera and claimed he had no idea his name was in the files. He lied. And the DOJ, the same Justice Department now controlling access to these records, was told by FBI whistleblowers that agents had been instructed to flag any records mentioning Trump's name during their review. Flag them. Set them aside before Congress ever got near them. That is not a transparency operation. That is a cover-up happening in real time by the people controlling the investigation. There are no criminal charges filed against any administration officials named in the Epstein files. Not Phelan, not Lutnick, not Musk. No charges against Trump either. But that is the point. These are the people running the Justice Department. These are the people deciding what gets released, what gets redacted, and who faces consequences. They are both the subjects of this investigation and the people in charge of it. And the one congressman who went in, sat down, and actually searched the files, Raskin came out calling it exactly what it looks like, a cover-up. The files say a million things. The administration keeps telling you there is nothing to see. At some point, you have to decide who you believe.